Well, hello.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
We have some questions for you.
Sure.
Well, where did Crystal Stix come from, and how did you get involved?
Well, I made the first Crystal Stick in about 1985 in Tucson, Arizona. I took a piece of leather and cut it into a circle, cut a couple of slits in it, made a cup, put it on the end of a stick with some hand sticks, and started spinning it around. We used a little imitation suede leather to give it a grip. People used to buy them out of my hands when I'd stand in line at the bank when we used to have to cash a check. It was funny that once people got them into their hands, they had fun with them. Juggling sticks have been around a long time. I think when we came down out of the trees, we probably took some sticks with us as a safety device for no other reason. What I'm noticing is that over a period of time, you have fun with the sticks, and one thing just simply leads to another. You never really know where it's going to go. In those early years, they didn't play quite as well as they do nowadays, though.
So I'm noticing that you've got two sticks, that you're going in different directions, and you're talking at the same time. I mean, you must have had to develop with these sticks over a period of time.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle. I used to say that it was a little more difficult learning how to do two at once than it was to get a degree in school. And I think that it's true in the sense of the amount of effort on a personal basis that it took, because the sticks weren't forgiving, just like right there. Whenever I stopped paying enough attention to them and shifted my attention over here, what happened was, of course, they came together. I just got them a little too close together. So in the beginning stages, you pick them up. If you don't quite get them right, it doesn't forgive you. It simply drops. And it was a very cold and heartless coach. But on the other hand, it was also one that kept telling me the truth each step of the way, which is, that didn't work, pick it up, try it again. So it was kind of fun. As the design of the sticks improved, so did the ease with which you could learn to do doubles, I might add. Nowadays, with the super grip that we have on them, makes it a lot easier. It is a process no matter what, and generally speaking, some people can get doubles rather quickly. I had some come back after a year and say, hey, watch me, and they're showing me the doubles. Others take a bit longer. I didn't start my doubles until I'd been doing sticks about 4 years, and took me about 6 months out there by myself. I put my back to the sun because it was kind of hot when I started out in Arizona. I realized right away that my shadow allowed me to look at something rather than focusing on one hand or the other hand, or one stick or the other stick, and thus losing one. So as a result of watching the shadow, like paying attention over there but doing sticks over here, it trained my peripheral vision, which was kind of interesting. It developed that ability to look at multiple things and act in different places at the same time. I think con artists do that, but also people who develop that ability prevent mistakes a lot, because if something is falling over here and you catch it, even though you weren't directly looking at it, but you responded to it, that's a good safety kind of a thing. So I found that to be true as well. My accident proneness went down greatly as a result of doing the sticks.
So what do you feel that they accomplish? What do Crystal Stix do?
Well, in my case, I was like lots of people nowadays, I believe, in that I was quite left-brained. I read a lot, used to read a lot of science fiction all the time, and I didn't develop physically as much as an athletic person might. So later in life, I think I was a bit primed for it, because I was starting to realize that I needed to integrate the physical with whatever mental development I may have been involved at the time. I used to take developmental classes to teach me to speed read, or how to use my mind a little bit better, be more successful in sales, and all of those kinds of things. And the sticks fell in line with that. I started playing with them, and I realized right away that there was a connection between a mental or emotional feeling and an action and a movement. And so as I started playing, I naturally just spread the play around. Eventually, a couple of years later, by about 1989 or so, I was calling it claim your bubble, or claim that space around your body. As it developed, I've come to realize that there are correlations between this idea and what current research is showing about this development of a web work, and how when you develop motor skills and balanced movements, that a web work gets created in your brain, and it's different from the left hand to the right hand because of the orientation of the brain and the lobes of the brain, so that as I'm developing all of these kinds of things, my stability or my ability to act and my emotional strength or maturity increased dramatically. So there were a lot of benefits that came, and I paid attention to them because I was interested in such things. And over a period of time, especially once I arrived at doing two at once, I realized that the brain is kind of like two roving antennae almost. It's the part of you that's interested in this, interested in that, interested here, there, and the other, and it kind of flutters and goes around. And one part of you can be looking at one thing over here, but the other part can be looking at someplace else or something else. Like you've heard, you may be here with your eyes, but the rest of you is someplace else. Emotionally, then there's someplace else. And that's, a lot of us are double thinking all the time. It's a fairly common thing for us to be looking at one thing like you're doing right now, and then perhaps criticizing or analyzing, quote unquote, about it, as well as another part of you worried about what's going on later today or tomorrow or the next day. So we kind of split ourselves up. And I realized that these perhaps could be subdivided even more so, but I think primarily there's one on the left and one on the right representing the lobes of the brain. And as I started to develop with the sticks, it's sort of like I learned to tame the roving attentiveness, is about the only way I could describe it right now, or tame the roving mind would be another way to put it. But you're taming the aspects, you're taming the right side and the left side independently, because again, you might be able to get your one side of your mind working, but the emotional side could be all over the place, and you might find it hard to get centered sometimes because of that. In the process of doing Crystal Stix and developing with the Crystal Stix, activity got developed where I would do one-handed motions in every direction around the body. We call that claiming your bubble, as I said earlier. So that I would claim my bubble with my right hand, and I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. I would stretch around, and I would develop motor skills in all directions, including over my head, and all of those supportive movements, and they needed to be linked together to feel right, which is to say an unbroken motion. It took a while to get to that unbroken motion, in my case, because all of our actions that we do in day-to-day life are primarily straight line actions. So we get a wear pattern in our bone structure that reflects that straight line action. So anytime you start to move and twirl around, several things start to take place. Number one, you encounter the previous history of straight line action. In most cases, I find it some kind of a glitch. For me, it would be a turn. I'd get a glitch there, it would straighten up, then I would get another glitch, then I would feel the turn. Well, after a while, the glitch went away. I just simply wore through it, I think. Also, the more you make these curving motions, the more muscle support structure develops around that motion. So all of these supportive muscles in and across and around the lower back got developed greatly. So it allowed this twist around motion and that walk around motion. I found a number of things physically started to become apparent with the Crystal Stick, and that was that to make those kinds of motion and all this weaving motion, the muscles needed to loosen up in all those directions, and so you get this feathering of the motions. There's a body work technique called Rolfing that they physically go in and move the muscle structure around. The Crystal Sticks seem to do a natural version of this Rolfing process, as it seems, because when you twist yourself around and make your body move, then you're loosening up all of the muscles and heating up all the fascia that might be sticking some of that muscle movement. And I also noticed that when I twist and turn, I'll only go as far as I could go, obviously, and feel comfortable. And then if I went to that point of tightness and played a while, ultimately I would simply go beyond that, because I would develop at that point and then continue that development further and further and further. And all of a sudden you start seeing the benefits from the standpoint of stress management that was taking place, because in order to make these turns, I'm having to squeeze and use all of these muscles in the body and the stomach and all of that normally hold lots of stress for me and perhaps lots of others. Also, this upper body stress that gets contained between the shoulder blades, all of that is being stretched and turned and loosened. So by doing these stretch around motions as part of a regular exercise regimen, the physical benefits became obvious, and then of course the emotional stress management benefits became obvious as well. After major stressful times, I found that by grabbing up the sticks and just doing my exercise routine that I had been regularly doing, consisting of about an hour or less once every 3 days or so, that any of that stress that had accumulated from whatever was going on could literally be wrung out of my body, or at a minimum more adequately handled, so that if the stresses continued coming back, I was able to maintain my equilibrium, maintain my emotional centeredness, maintain the ability to make accurate decisions, as well as the ability to discern balanced actions. Because emotionally, when you're in a stable relationship with yourself, balanced actions then become a natural byproduct of that.